Good evening, you are watching ReNEWS in English. I'm Sonat Humanyan. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's latest press conference began at 12 p.m. at the Sports and Concert Complex. A key issue among the questions in the spotlight is the matter of unblocking, on which Armenia has presented its position in the Crossroads of Peace project, according to Pashinyan. Touching upon extradition, Pashinyan assured that there are many well-known cases of extradition in the Republic of Armenia today, some of which they are satisfied with and others they are dissatisfied with.
The Republic of Armenia is interested and wants the transport infrastructures in the region to be opened, including from Armenia to Armenia through the territory of Azerbaijan, from Azerbaijan to Azerbaijan through the territory of Armenia, bilateral trade, international communication from Armenia through the territory of Azerbaijan to third countries, from Azerbaijan through the territory of Armenia to third countries, and transit transportation. So here, we are showing continuous interest and readiness, and in all our discussions, it is very clear that we have envisioned, and will envision all those processes within the framework of the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and jurisdiction of the Republic of Armenia.
The peace treaty was the next key topic of the press conference. The Prime Minister confirmed that yes, there is an idea of initialing it. Let's listen to that segment from the press conference.
What took place was the coordination of the text of the draft agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan on the establishment of peace and interstate relations, and the end of negotiations around the text. Now, by the same logic, and as I said, we essentially, under that heading, whether declared or not, or under other headings, have started consultations with Azerbaijan since then. You have seen it in public. This is a diplomatic continuation. We have started consultations on how to move forward, what a possible roadmap could be. And the idea of a pre-signing is also on the table and on the agenda. And that is one of the options being discussed in the menu.
Ultimately, is Armenia staying in the CSTO, or Prime Minister Pashinyan gave a more or less clear answer to this question?
It's more likely that we will leave the CSTO than we will unfreeze our membership. What does the peace agreement envisage regarding Megri, Jermuk, and others? It envisages that the two countries, as I said, on the basis of the Alma-Ata Declaration and the borders of the Soviet Union, recognize each other's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and the inviolability of borders. And it is envisaged that on the basis of their signed regulations, the border delimitation commissions will continue the border delimitation work and will bring it to an end, as provided for in the regulation.
There are also no doubts about becoming an EU member, and the country must meet EU standards, the Prime Minister noted. Complying with European standards as a result of reforms is the very path to meeting those standards.
Of course, a question has been and is being asked of us. Does the adopted law mean that Armenia wants to become a member of the European Union? My answer has been that yes, Armenia wants to become a member of the European Union. And the continuation of the conversation was as follows, that both our European partners and we have noted that a country becoming a member of the European Union is not a simple process. First, all members of the European Union must agree to it. And equally or no less importantly, the country must meet the standards of the European Union. And they asked me to comment on how I envision the solution to this problem. I said the following, that we, in any case, have an ambitious program and strategy of reforms, and we will implement that strategy one way or another. That is, we now, including through the Comprehensive and Enhanced Partnership Agreement, and now also in the near future, there will be the new Armenia-European Union cooperation agenda. We, within the framework of all that, one way or another will continue our country's reforms up to the point and even beyond, but as an intermediate step, where the Republic of Armenia objectively meets European standards in all respects.
Prime Minister Pashinyan also addressed the possible outsourcing of the management of the electric networks of Armenia. Ultimately, the state is to take over the management, and the Prime Minister has stated this position regarding the process and possible collaborations.
But I won't hide it. Yes, during our recent visit, We also signaled to the relevant circles of a number of friendly countries that we may have such a topic, and if there is interest, please let us know about it.
Membership in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is also part of the logic of a balanced and balancing policy, the Prime Minister noted during the press conference. Incidentally, we already have observer status in the organization.
Ինչ վերաբերվում է Շանհայի համագործակցության կազմակերպությանը.
As for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, yes, we have applied to become a member of the organization, and that fits into the logic of our balancing and balanced foreign policy, and we will continue to work. By the way, I want to say, I hope you know that we have observer status in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in the previous period. It's not like we are in some so-called zero state, we don't even have a hello, goodbye there, and suddenly we decided to become a member of the organization. And besides, this is also related to the substantive and structural changes taking place in the organization, because it is also being discussed in the organization that the observer or associate member, there are such institutions there, and Armenia, I already said, is an observer, and discussions are underway to abolish those statuses as well. And of course, this is not the only reason, and not the biggest reason, but this is also a circumstance. We want to continue a balanced and balanced policy, and if I say in my opening speech that Armenia is a desirable partner and expected partner, both in the north and in the south, and in the east and in the west.
Today, it also became clear that Armenia has a new head of the Ministry of Environment. Hambartsum Matevosyan will replace Hակոբ Սիմիդյան. After 2018, he served as the governor of the Armavir province for 3 years. Then was deputy prime minister, and since 2023 has been the prime minister's chief advisor. I should note that Hակոբ Սիմիդյան served in the post for 4 years. The Kremlin calls on all parties to put pressure on Ukraine to hold a new round of negotiations with Russia, said Peskov. He also commented on Trump's decision to supply weapons to Kyiv at Europe's expense. Let's listen.
Business.
It's a business. There were deliveries before this. No one stopped them. It's just a question of who pays for them. Now some Europeans will pay for them. You heard that the French will pay, which means the Czechs will not pay. That is, there will also be disagreements there now about who will pay for what, how much money. Nothing will be left for the citizens.
Another statement from Russia. European leaders are forbidding Kyiv from holding negotiations with Russia, stated Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov.
But then
the British, surely with the consent and knowledge of the United States, forbade the Ukrainians from signing this document.
And regarding Trump's threats of sanctions, he noted that he is confident Russia's trading partners will not abandon their commitments because of Trump's threats, and that Russia will overcome the new sanctions.
Therefore, we, of course, as Dmitry Peskov said, want to understand what is behind this statement. 50 days, before there was 24 hours, and there was 100 days. We have been through all of this, and we really want to understand what drives the President of the United States. It is clear that he is under enormous, I would say, indecent pressure from the European Union and the current leadership of NATO, who shamelessly support Zelensky's demands to continue pumping him with modern weapons, including offensive ones, at the expense of ever-increasing damage to taxpayers in Western countries. Therefore, you know we have a proverb, don't dig a pit for someone else. And the fact that the sanctions that the European Union has now imposed and which are being prepared again in Brussels, and they are trying to drag the United States into this sanctions funnel as well. But President Trump explained very specifically that Europe will be the one to pay for all of this. All of this, of course, has already caused very serious damage to the European economy.
The Patriots are already departing for Ukraine, but Trump is also warning Zelensky not to strike Moscow. In his characteristic fashion, Trump has chosen his side in the Russo-Ukrainian war, humanity. He has once again brought up Biden and delegated a share of the blame to him. By the way, Ukraine has a new Minister of Defense. The Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal, has resigned. He will take up the post of the country's Minister of Defense. Details in the report.
The members of the Iranian parliament have demanded that preconditions be set for the resumption of nuclear negotiations with the U.S. as they accuse the U.S. of covering up Israel's attacks. The negotiations have been frozen since June 13 due to military actions by Israel and the U.S., but Iran is ready for dialogue on the condition that it receives guarantees that military aggression will not be repeated. Tehran and Washington have not yet agreed on the details of a new round of negotiations. The U.S. president has announced that American Patriot missiles are already on their way to Ukraine. Donald Trump noted that European members of NATO will pay for the billions of dollars in modern weaponry being sent to Ukraine by the U.S. and other NATO member countries. The U.S. and European allies have threatened to restore UN sanctions against Iran if a nuclear agreement is not reached by the end of August. The Iranian parliament has banned negotiations with the U.S. until Washington meets Tehran's preconditions, which, according to Iran's foreign minister, include guarantees against future attacks. According to the news portal Axios, the three European powers are prepared to trigger the sanctions snapback mechanism. On one hand, Trump is sending weapons to Zelensky, and on the other, he is warning them not to strike Moscow. The U.S. president has stated that Ukrainian President Zelensky should not target Moscow. Trump was asked whose side he is on in this war. The eccentric president said that he is on the side of humanity and wants to stop the killings. He repeated again that he has ended many wars in the last 3 months, but has not yet succeeded in ending this one. Trying to explain why this one cannot be stopped, Trump once again brought up Biden. At least 200 people have been killed in clashes between government forces and Druze militias in southern Syria, as the new government, led by Ahmed al-Shara, tries to establish control over the region. Israel has launched strikes on Syrian army positions in defense of the Druze. Hundreds of Israeli Druze are trying to cross into Syria to support their community. The Israeli army and border police are trying to contain the situation. Russian forces have struck a Polish factory in Vinnytsia. The Polish foreign minister stated that the attack was deliberate, coming from 3 directions, and resulted in 3 people being injured, 2 of whom have severe burns. Putin's criminal war is approaching our borders, the minister wrote on his X page. In the last 24 hours in Gaza, about 100 people have been killed and 252 have been injured. Since the ceasefire was signed in March of last year, 7,750 Palestinians have been killed, including women and children, and more than 27,000 people have been injured.
And another statement for the US, China and other countries are trying to catch up to America in the field of artificial intelligence. We will not let them do it. We have great chips, we have the best of everything, and we will compete against them in a very friendly way, promised the US president. The president of Colombia has also suggested moving Statue of Liberty to Latin America. The USA considers itself a superior race, being white, but the ones who fought for freedom were black people who founded the first free territory in America. Let's agree on what is truly important: democracy and freedom. Otherwise, the statue from New York must be moved to Cartagena, he said. Forest fires have been raging across Turkey for more than a month, with new blazes erupting as soon as others are put out. The primary causes continue to be the hot weather, strong winds, and human activity. Fires are currently active in areas near the Bosphorus and along the Black Sea's coastal regions. The factors causing concern for Armenia's blue-eyed beauty, Lake Sevan, are not visible to the naked eye. But over time, this beauty has overcome many difficulties. From my colleague Ani Hovanesyan's report, you will learn more about Sevan than you can imagine. And if you decide to come here to relax, the lake will cease to be just a magnificent resort for you. Global warming, natural disasters, environmental problems. Let's pause for a moment and go to Sevan.
Sevan, the world's second highest large freshwater lake, is fighting against time, pollution, and mismanagement today. The first release of water from Lake Sevan occurred in the 1900s. Later, in 1931, the Soviet authorities decided to implement a plan that proved disastrous for Sevan. They decided to lower the lake's level by 55 meters for agricultural purposes. Thinking only of their own interests, they destroyed Sevan. Half of the fish species disappeared, the oxygen level in the water decreased, and the temperature rose. In 2018, the lake's temperature saw a record increase, reaching 24.8 degrees. At first glance, this lush green layer spread across the water's surface seems like a beautiful play of nature, but in reality, it is a most serious ecological challenge. Sevon bloomed, and the problems that scientists had been warning about since the 1960s, 70s, and the second half of the 1990s have remained unresolved for several decades. Sevon is blooming due to toxic cyanobacteria that produce poisonous substances, which cause liver, kidney, and skin problems. Hydrobiologist Gor Gevorgyan has been studying Sevon's ecological problems for over 10 years. According to him, all the favorable conditions for the lake's eutrophication, swampification, now exist in Sevon.
Sevon's ecological problems emerged about perhaps 80 years ago. Our eutrophication or swampification is characteristic of any lake, even under natural conditions. However, under natural conditions, that lake might turn into a swamp over, say, thousands of years. But as a result of the anthropogenic factor, this swampification can happen in tens of years or even less.
According to Gevorgyan, the bloom is only one symptom of Sevon's eutrophication, and the lake should be in the spotlight not only in the summer.
If we observe it throughout the entire year, we can see blooms in other seasons as well, which are not visually apparent, but when you research it scientifically, you'll see that there is still rapid development.
According to Gevorgyan, the number one human factor is pollution, which has long been out of control. Global warming, on the other hand, affects the lake's condition. As much as the water level rises, it can fall just as much.
We can't prevent pollution, which is mainly communal and household wastewater. You can't tell people to stop their daily household activities, you simply need proper facilities, meaning biological treatment plants. From that water basin alone, from communal and household activities, more than 100 tons of phosphorus flows into the lake through rivers, and up to 60% of that phosphorus is stored at the bottom, on the lake bed. From there, it can re-enter the lake and become a source of pollution.
We are starting with the species that causes blooms in Lake Sevon, growing it under different temperature conditions. And now I am taking samples for the relevant measurements.
The Center for Zoology and Hydroecology prepares its research for publication in foreign journals, while the Ministry of Environment conducts its own monitoring.
The state of the lake can only be understood through monitoring. It's like having a sick person but not having a thermometer to check if they have a fever or not. Biological treatment of the waters flowing into the lake is not happening. As a result, the water quality in the lake changes. That is, the amount of organic matter increases, which contributes to the development and growth of those blue-green algae.
Voskehat Gregorian also singles out pollution as one of Sevon's key ecological problems. Even large cities are not fully connected to the sewage system. They are only partially connected. As a result, domestic wastewater flows directly from some houses or buildings through channels into the river, and from the river, it flows into the lake. And it is this organic matter that causes negative consequences in the lake. The buildings and forests on the shores of Sevon, now submerged due to the rising water level, further complicate the restoration of the water basin. But there is a problem here, too. For several years now, no organization has applied for the cleanup work tenders announced by the ministry.
The tender requires applications from specialized professional organizations that have the necessary equipment to carry out this process. And the difficulty lies mainly here.
Many of us treat Sevon as a place for an excursion or a vacation. But isn't Sevon much more than just that? The trash accumulated on public beaches, the wastewater and sewage flowing into Sevon, as well as many other ecological problems, complicate the healing of our blue-eyed beauty and prolong it.
UNESCO is carrying out conservation work at the Mountain Emerald Sanctuary. The restoration and conservation work that began in 2022 has yielded positive results. For the mountain's iconic monuments, they have now started using nano-solutions, specifically nano-limestone, to contribute to the longevity of these statues. And a story about a miracle. In the Austrian Alps, a 10-week-old baby has survived after falling from a height of about 50 meters. A family from Germany was hiking in the mountains. The baby's mother was trying to open a gate leading to a pasture when the stroller suddenly rolled down a slope. It tumbled several times and the baby fell out. The newborn was found on a mountain meadow at the foot of the mountain at an altitude of 1,700 meters. The baby is severely injured. For more updates, follow us on YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, X, and Facebook. Daily news and full coverage are available on our official website. I am Sona Tumanyan. Stay informed with ReNews.